Welcome to Across the Gulf Coast, highlighting organizations, events, and people from around our local community.
Well, Happy New Year and welcome to another great episode of Across the Gulf Coast. I'm Cam Johnson. I'm going to be your host for today's show as we talk about some great events and organizations along the Gulf Coast. We're going to be joined by big brothers and big sisters of Northwest Florida. The American Heart Association and All Sports will all stop by. But we're going to kick it off in Pensacola this year to talk about a great location I'm sure a lot of people in town have been to, and even a lot of visitors go to every year, and that is, of course, the Naval Aviation Museum on board Pensacola NAS. And joining me now to talk about the museum and its foundation is Kathleen Castro. You are the Major Gifts Officer.
I am.
So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us, Cam.
Absolutely. So the museum, a lot of people, of course, have heard of it, and a lot of people have been to it. A very popular destination here in town, but tell us about the museum.
Sure. You know, the museum is really a jewel, and I think sometimes us as residents here in Escambia County and Pensacola, we kind of forget about it until we have company come to town.
Absolutely.
Or there's a program out there. But we are the #1 tourist attraction in the Panhandle. According to TripAdvisor, we have 800,000 people a year come through those doors. We are completely free to the public. And we have over 150 planes, and contrary to popular opinion, they're not just Navy planes. We have Marine planes, we have Coast Guard exhibit, we have a NASA exhibit. We even have planes from enemies that we fought, including Japan and Germany from World War II. We have an incredible plane with a great backstory from the Vietnam War. It was one of the last planes out of Saigon, and it was landed on an aircraft carrier by a South Vietnamese Air Force officer, and we have that plane. So it's more than just the history of naval aviation, and we have some terrific volunteers who are our docents. They all work without pay. They are mostly retired military, and they have a history and a connection with these planes, and their stories are just really amazing to come out and listen to.
You know, that is a good point, because, you know, my family, we take the kids out there all the time. My son loves going out there, and I don't even know how many times we've been, but it's like you said, whenever we have visitors in town, that's the #1 place they want to go. But listening to some of the stories and then reading some of the stories that you guys have out there,
right,
and the movies, it really is a great history lesson out there, isn't it?
It really is. And I think one thing maybe that people aren't so aware of is that we also have an IMAX Theater out there. And we do wonderful movies on the history of flight, which is our signature movie. We also have one now on D-Day. We have one out now for Christmas. So always check our website at navalaviationmuseum.org. If you're looking for something to do, there is a small charge for some of the attractions like the IMAX, but to come into an experience, you know, over 150 planes each with stories. That is completely free, and that's a great thing when you've got a family.
Absolutely, yeah, it really is. And you know, like we were talking before we started rolling, it's not just you're looking at the planes; you can actually touch and feel them, right?
And I think that's really what I found so amazing when I moved here to Pensacola and came out. And my father is retired military; he was a Navy Chief Petty Officer, and he worked on the ground crews. And to see his reaction when he could touch a plane that he had worked on, he could feel the metal. There are planes that you can see the bullet holes where they were shot at Midway. You can look inside. You see kids climbing, you know, all over them. So it's a place where you can really touch and feel history.
Sure.
And have the gentlemen who experienced this history explain it to you and tell their real stories about these planes. So I think it's truly special. We are consistently ranked one of the top 25 museums in the country, right up there with Smithsonian Air and Space and Chicago Science Museum. So we're pretty proud of that. And it's really something we should all be proud of in this community.
Absolutely. And again, it's not just a Navy museum. It is the National Museum of Naval Aviation.
We are the National Naval Aviation. We are the only one.
Absolutely. So you mentioned it's all free except for IMAX and some of the simulators, but to walk into the museum is free. So to pay for that, obviously, you guys have to do some fundraisers and stuff. So you work for the foundation, right? Tell me about the foundation.
Yes, I do. The museum is on the Navy base. The building was built by the foundation and then donated to the Navy. But for the ongoing maintenance, upkeep, any new plane restorations, if the walls need to be painted or something needs to be fixed, that's taken care of by the foundation. We raise money every day to try and keep that available to the public free of charge. And the event that we're looking at the end of this month, on the 29th, is sort of the ongoing care and maintenance of the fleet, of these 150 planes. Because we allow people to touch them, because we allow people to really feel them, they have to be repainted sometimes. And sometimes they get a little nicked or damaged, and they need to be museum quality. We are a world-class museum, and they need to stay that way. So we are looking for a way to broaden our base. We are 100% funded by private dollars. We do not receive funding from the Navy. I think that's a common misnomer. It's all of our corporate partners, our personal donors, even the kids that come in that put $1 in the box. And my kids always want a buck or two to put in the box. So we're looking to do something just for the ongoing maintenance of the fleet to make sure they stay in top-notch condition.
So we have about a minute left, but I do want to mention or talk a little bit more about what you just mentioned with the event on the 29th at the end of this month. Tell us about that.
We are having a program at the Palafox House, very generously donated by Collier Merrill, one of our trustees, and we are having it. There's no fee to come. We will have some drinks, some good food, compliments of the Fish House, and we'll be talking about a paver program. So we are looking for donations, but even just if you'd like to come and have some good conversation, enjoy a good facility, and really whatever that someone can give, we're willing to take, because we do really need the support of this community to keep this jewel where it is.
Well, Kathleen, we're out of time, but I do appreciate you coming on. We could talk, I think, the whole
show
about the museum and all the history out there. And I encourage anybody watching at home to go out there if you haven't been. It is really, like you said, it's a jewel for this area, and it's just a great place to go, even when you don't have visitors in town.
Even when you don't have visitors in town, and when it's a rainy Sunday, it's a great place.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you very much for having us, Cam.
Absolutely. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll be joined by Big Brothers and Big Sisters.